conversation with corpse washer.
Bonjour, Hong Kong. I would like to open with a few remarks. First of all, I would like to thank the Thanatic Ethic Project conveners, Maharani Bidisha, Queen Judith, and St. Thomas. My talk is part of my ongoing research on the role of French Muslim women in the death business in Marseille. It is still in the making. It's still in progress. My talk is far from being finished. And I really and truly hope that this conference will provide me with some insights about the direction I should follow, where to go from there. In the title, I state participant observation, but I would like to explain to you that it took me more than 2 years to observe before I started the participant observation. There are certain things I am ready to do and comfortable with during the washing and the shrouding, and there are certain things that I do not feel comfortable because of respect of the believers and the religions and the rituals. In today's talk, I will be citing from my field journal, not from the washing and the shrouding I participated in, because I wanted to, I don't see myself with them when I'm in the event. It's easier when I observe. The PowerPoint, I chose water drops, and it's not by accident, it's intentional to make the point the importance of the water and the sound of the water during the washing. And whenever I use or apply Arabic terms, I will have their explanation on the slide. Just for your information, the corpse washers have a profession, a specific name in Arabic. We refer ghassal, corpse washer, different from undertaker, and I'll talk more about it at the end, because in some Islamic countries, especially Turkey and Istanbul, they form people to do that. You have to be a certified corpse washer, and the state is sponsor it. And I'll close the talk with this about the Istanbul and Turkey. And last but not least, the corpse washers talk between themselves in French, but when they cite Quranic verses or prayers, they cite them in Arabic. Of course, I'll translate them into English. I'm a bit nervous. In Islam, death is not the end. It is a transition from this world to the next. When people die, they go to the barzakh. I'm trying to change slide. Doesn't change. Oh, yeah, you just click. Okay, super. Thank you. The Persian Arabic word barzakh means separation, and the term becomes central to belief in life after death, and thus co-opts a range of issues related to the continual existence of the soul. Barzakh is also understood as a barrier between this world and the world beyond. It acquires a life of its own, where the dead are depicted as conducting an active afterlife. Based on ethnographic research in Marseille, which includes participant observation with female corpse washers, as well as interviews with male Muslim corpse washers, this paper examines the relationship between beliefs and the practices surrounding death. It shows how the belief about the afterlife among French Muslims strongly influenced the way Muslim corpse washers care for the body of the dead during the ritual washing and the shrouding. When they prepare the body for repatriation to the country of origin, I argue that Muslim corpse washers treat the deceased as persons with agency and not as bodies. Thus, I use the term body of the dead rather than dead body. This paper is divided into 3 parts. First, I will transport you to the scene of the ritual to paint a clear picture of what is happening with the washing and the shrouding. Second, I will explain how Muslim corpse washers practice their work according to their beliefs about the afterlife. Third, I will try to theorize the materiality of the body in the sensory aspects engaged by the corpse washers and draw some conclusions. The washing and the shrouding of the dead are central aspects of Islamic funerary rites and are considered as respect and honor for the body of the dead. It is preferable that the deceased's immediate family members or relatives perform the ritual washing of the corpse. However, the general rule is that males should wash males and females should wash females, except for children up to the age of 8. The deceased can be washed by his or her spouse. The ritual washing and the shrouding takes about an hour, and there is a need for 2 persons and more, depending on the weight of the corpse. The body is washed with warm water, starting on the right side, from the front to the back, and from the head to toe. Let me take you to the ritual scene, to a morgue in a public hospital in the city of Martigues in south of France, and describe the ritual washing and the shrouding of a 70-year-old woman performed by Miriam and her assistant, Sarah. They are both corpse washers. I need water. The body of the dead is covered and laying on the washing table. Before touching it, Miriam and Sarah change their clothes, perform wudu, and wear gloves. They get close to the body of the dead, say the Basmala, in the name of God, the merciful, the compassionate, and recite the Istirja, a Quranic verse. Surely we are for God, and to him we shall return. They uncover the body of the dead, strip it of its hospital clothes using scissors, and cover her breast, belly, and intimate parts with a beige cloth. Miriam says, al-sutra, covering the intimate parts. They press gently on her stomach to expel any remaining impurities, and then they change their gloves. Miriam puts water all over the body, starting with the head and finishing with the feet, and says, warm water, always warm water. Sarah takes the sponge, puts warm water on it and soap, and cleans the intimate parts of the deceased from behind the beige cloth covering them without looking at them. Miriam tells her, use your left hand to wash the intimate parts. They change their gloves once again and they cleanse the body by wudu. They always start by washing the body parts on the right side, and they wash each part 3 times. Sarah holds the deceased palm slowly and gently, and Miriam washes them. They clean the mouth and nose by using pieces of cotton and water. The wudu, the small ablution, Muslims must do it every time before the 5 daily prayer. So actually they are performing this. So you wash the palm 3 times, you wash your mouth 3 times, and you wash your nose 3 times. So they cannot wash her mouth. So they wet the cotton and put it in her mouth and they clean it 3 times. And then the same thing for her nose. They wash the face and arms, they wipe the head and neck, and finally they wash the feet. Then Miriam says, have you seen her face? It changed compared to the beginning, meaning that now her face looks much better than it was before the washing. They change their gloves once more and wash the entire body with water, soap, and a sponge. They start with the head and wash it 3 times with shampoo and water. Miriam says she has a short hair. If it were long, we would plait it into 3 braids according to the Sunnah. Next, they wash the right side of the body 3 times, and then I see Sarah trying hard to turn the heavy body on its side to allow Miriam to complete the washing of the right side. Miriam says, the body is heavy. We need 3 persons to wash it. I feel that she's asking me to help her in a polite way, especially that she asked me earlier whether I could help, and my answer was, I'm not ready yet. They clean the left side of the body as they did with the right one. After, Miriam asks me to turn my face and not look, as Sarah is going to lift the cloth covering the intimate parts, and Miriam will wash them 3 times. They take their time to do so, and then I hear Miriam saying, Yumna, you can look now and come see how I prepare for the final washing, the tahara. It's a ritual purification of the whole body. I turn towards them and I see them changing the gloves. Miriam takes 2 buckets. I lost myself. Yeah. Miriam takes 2 buckets, fills them with warm water and musk to the water. With warm water, adds musk to the water, then grinds camphor and adds it to the water, explaining camphor is disinfectant and the preservative. They wash the body starting from the head and right side and finishing with the feet. Miriam wants to make sure that I saw things and understood correctly. She explains, first, we wet the body with warm water. Second, we cleanse it by wudu, small ablution. Third, we wash it with soap and sponge. Each body part is washed 3 times. Fourth, we do the final washing with warm water mixed with camphor and musk. Remember that we always start with the head and with the right side. Then they dry the body. Miriam puts musk on the 7 spots that touch the floor while praying. It's the 2 feet, the 2 knees, the 2 palms, and the face. This is 7 spots touching the floor when Muslims perform prayer, this specific prostration. And she says, this way she goes to Allah, to God, clean. They immediately shroud the body with 3 layers of white cotton textile. They wrap the body and repeat, may God have mercy on your soul. The body is now ready to be placed in the coffin. I see Sarah standing next to the deceased head and reciting some Quranic verses, and then praying to the dead. Then Miriam comes next to me and says, the washing and the shrouding went really well, although the corpse is heavy and requires 3 persons to wash it. It is a good sign. It is a very good sign for the deceased. After that, Miriam gets out of the washing room to ask for help. She comes back with the undertaker, the driver, and two of the deceased sons. The 6 of them carry the body and they place it in the coffin while Miriam repeating loudly, God is great, there is no God but God, and Muhammad is his messenger. The undertaker and Sarah were also saying the Basmala in the name of God, the merciful, the compassionate, and reciting some Quranic verses while the sons were crying. In the car, on our way back to Marseille, I asked Miriam if she could explain to me what she meant when she said, The washing and the shrouding went really well. It is a good sign. Upon completing the washing in the morgue, she replied, the dead body hears and feels everything, even though it is lifeless. There are signs. When I wash the body, I could see whether the deceased did good deeds or bad deeds in her life. Sometimes I see a smile on her face. Sometimes I see a tear. Let me take you now to another ritual scene. It is in the morgue at Hôpital Nord in Marseille, where Fatma and her assistant Tata performed the washing and the shrouding of the body of a 63-year-old woman. Upon completing the ritual washing, Fatma stands next to the deceased head, puts her hand on the dead's right shoulder, and repeats, forgive me, forgive me. Then Tata comes and does the same thing. The corpse is now ready to be placed in the coffin, but it is very heavy and they are not capable of doing so. Tata goes to the waiting room to ask for help from the deceased family. Nevertheless, she comes back only with Paul, the undertaker, as the deceased family ended up flying to Tunisia, where they will receive the body and bury it there instead of coming to the morgue. The three of them placed the body in the coffin, but it was not easy. It is big and heavy. They were not able to place it softly and gently in the coffin because of its heavy weight. Thus, we heard the sound when the body touched the base of the coffin. Then I see Fatma crying loudly. Tata and I go to comfort Fatma, but she keeps on crying and saying, I don't like it this way. In the car, on our way to take the body to the airport, I asked Fatma to explain why she was asking forgiveness from the deceased and why she was crying. She said, I always ask the deceased to forgive me in case I have hurt her unintentionally or have done something she does not like during the washing. The dead hears like us and feels more than we do. I cried because we were not enough people to carry her and place her in the coffin. We did it harshly. We hurt her. It should not have been like this. I do not like it this way. What is more, Paul is not Muslim. In one of the several interviews I conducted with Mr. Kos, an undertaker and corpse washer, he stated, quote, when I enter the washing room at the morgue to perform the ritual washing and the shrouding, I see a person and not a body. But this person cannot wash himself and I'm responsible for him. He feels that I'm washing him. I wash him very well. I put perfume on him so he will smell nicely in the barzakh. After I finish washing and shrouding him, I kiss him. I kiss for his forehead and ask for forgiveness. I ask him to forgive me in case I hurt him while washing him. Then I ask his family to pray for him and to ask God to forgive him. I also tell his family that he hears them and that they should ask forgiveness for him. We could explain the way Muslim corpse washers treat the body of the dead through their beliefs and attitude towards death. There is a prophetic tradition which says breaking the deceased bones is exactly like breaking them while he's alive. This means that the deceased still senses. It is a very common and widespread saying that explains the gentle and tender way the corpse washers touch the body of the dead. Muslim corpse washers stated that they do not fear death because everyone owes God a death. Freud said, by the way, everyone owes nature a death. Muslims believe we owe it to God. They see themselves in the corpse lying on the washing table and they feel humble. One corpse washer explained, quote, death is the real life. When we die, we don't really die. We change destination. We pass from this life to the other life. Another corpse washer noted that when we die, we go to the barzakh, where we meet other dead people and pray. As mentioned earlier, barzakh means separation, and the term becomes central to belief in life after death. Barzakh emerges in the eschatological scene free of any influence from Jews and the Christians, and it is a genuine Islamic product, a rare phenomenon on the eschatological market. Some Muslim writers who treat the question of life after death define and understand barzakh as separation of the dead from the living. Others describe the barzakh as the grave that separates us from the hereafter. Nevertheless, the majority of Muslim writers affirm the reality of some kind of punishment in the grave, which helps us contextualize the prayer Muslims recite for the dead during the ceremony following the ritual washing that says, "May God protect her from the punishment of the grave. May God fill her grave with light." Oh my God, I'm gonna rush. Muslims also believe that the dead perform the daily ritual prayer in the grave, and that is why corpse washers put perfume on the 7 spots touching the floor while praying. According to Islamic belief, the deceased continue to have sensory capacities after death, and that is why Muslim corpse washers understand the deceased as an agent who hears and feels. They wash the body of the dead with warm water and massage him gently, believing that the deceased is still sensing them. They talk with the deceased and recite Quranic verses in their ears, believing that the soul still hears them. They kiss the deceased and ask her for forgiveness. All of this leads us to the paradoxical conclusion that the Muslim dead body is subject and object at once. Moreover, Ida Khalil, an American Muslim corpse washer, tells families of the deceased to bring their loved one's favorite soap and shampoos. She tells the women in her class to think about themselves and treat the body as they would want to be treated, stating it is their last bath. Picture yourself. Dennis Gell, and I'm finishing, a professor of ethnomusicology at Stanford University and a certified corpse washer, Ghassala, from Turkey, Istanbul, is working on recovering the centrality of sound in a specific Muslim funerary practice and investigates multisensory embodied rituals at the liminal threshold between dying and being called into the grave. I would like to end my talk by a quote by her. My voice melts with the sound of the water pouring from the hose as I gently massage the waste, blood, and tears from the body of the deceased. In the act of washing the dead, water is simultaneously sound, spirit, and sensory experience for the deceased and for the washer herself. Washing the deceased in a group of 3, our individual solo voices punctuate space at our own paces and intensities. Our sound soothes and cleanses the deceased as much as our washing. The melodic recitations we provide when gently holding the deceased are the most important component of ritual cleansing before one is buried. We repeatedly sound forgiveness teacher, God, while exhaling and inhaling. Often we recite takbir, which articulates God's greatness, adding a melodic architecture to our textured calls for forgiveness. Our touch and voices alter with each separate experiencing of washing the dead, because each deceased woman is her own person with her different body and causes of death. No encounter is the same. In the way that we leverage our own bodily movements of lifting and turning the deceased body, we actively choose to do it with sounds pouring from the mourning family members in the room. If the mourners are silent, we tend to fill the space with our sound. Our recitations are not only for ritual per se, but exist to offer pleasing sounds to the dead herself.